Hello, I am Simon Adams of Moonstar Board Games. In this series, I like to take a look at games which I either love or really like and explain why that is. Now, these are not how to play these games. These are not detailed introductions to the mechanics or anything like that with regards of these games. If you're interested in that, as a result of hearing me talk about one of these games, I hope that you go and look for one of the many YouTube channels that really do a good job of explaining and describing the rules and how to play these games. So today we're going to be looking at a game that is very near and dear to my heart because of the time in which I played it, and that is Seventh Continent. My copy of Seventh Continent is in Scotland, and in fact, I don't have the entirety of the Seventh Continent game anymore because I broke it down into its component parts and the very first island that you explore because I hope one day to make a perspex diorama for a wall which has that first island as well as my characters and hopefully have the kind of picture book that you collect your cards and the quests you do in chained to that. So it will be a shrine to kind of my memory of playing the Seventh Continent during COVID. Now, Seventh Continent is a exploration, adventure, and survival game in which you play the role of a character who's. I'm not going to tell the whole story, just get very high level. You wash up on an island and discover um, that this island is next to this larger island known as the Seventh Continent, a kind of forgotten land, so to speak. And you have to kind of piece together what is happening on the island and ultimately how to get off of the island. The game is played over a series of curses, which are consider a curse like a long adventure storyline and long adventure book in which you will be going through this curse, going into a particular portion of the map in order to achieve a certain goal. The map is unfolded through tiles. So it's not that you have one big map, you have literally thousands of cards, square cards, and you're putting these cards out in order to expand the map and to move through the map. It's important to note that when I played Seventh Continent, I did not follow the rule that you have to only have 9 tiles out at any time, meaning nine tiles of the map out at any time. When you go into a next row, you're meant to get rid of the row before it. I didn't do that. I was in a studio apartment in Oakland, in California during COVID. You better believe that I just put the whole map out as I explored it, and I put down fires where I needed to, and I just rapid fast traveled. That alleviated a lot of the survivalistic grinding mechanisms for me. And so my experience is probably different from a lot of other people's, but I put the whole map out, including all of the expansion curses with the log flume, the tower that you're going up, the parachute when you're above the skies. Um, I put it all out, and as I say, I kept a lot of the really memorable parts just to make a wall memorial, not a wall memorial to my experience playing Seventh Continent by myself. Seventh Continent is a survival game, and your resource in the game is actually cards. So it's cards for the map, and you have a deck of cards which basically they connotate the amount of actions that you can take. And when you run out of those cards, then negative things start to happen and that's actually in fact how you can die in the game. When I say that Seventh Continent is a survival game, it is a survival game in mechanisms, but I don't think it's really a survival game in heart. And I have Seventh Citadel up there, literally waiting to be played, which I understand it takes more of the adventure aspects of Seventh Continent and leaves the grinding. I've got to get fish. I need to move around the map and I need to go back to a fire and cook and I need to replenish my cards and yada yada. For me, Seventh Continent blew me away in the regard of how it told its story without words. Now, yes, there are words in the game. You can meet characters who will have little things to say here and there, but overall, it's a choose your own adventure. And so, how you interact with the game is the story, and the game will give you plenty of opportunities with which to write that story and with which to be able to reminisce about that story. I have some cards from the game, and I've looked online to see if anyone else wants to talk about this. Please, if you haven't played Seventh Continent, just go play it. Okay, just go play it. Just go play it. Don't get the don't get the small box. Get the big box with the expansions. I don't like the small box at all. A friend of mine got it, and I was very unimpressed by it. Get the big box with all of the curses, and really throw yourself into the game. Not all the curses are as good as others, and that's why I think the box at the small box that they sell isn't great, because those are not the best of the curses. But as a result of that, get the bigger box with all of the curses. Each curse is very different. They're all very exciting. I did really, really bad on the tower where you have to go up the levels, or into the basement. Sorry, if I remember rightly, with the robots. Um, I did very poorly with that, but it was a very good memory. You float above the clouds. It's Every curse is extremely different, and they're all very much worth your time. Now, now that you don't want to hear any spoilers, please leave this video. Please go somewhere else. Anyway, so in my book of my photograph book with my cards, I have the story about how the island came to be. And I've not found anyone else talk about this, and maybe it's for fear of spoiling it, but I just hope that maybe someone who's really played a lot of the Seventh Continent watches this and is like, Simon, I know exactly what you're talking about. It also blew my mind. So as you're going through the game, you start to get kind of like a tapestry of cards, like a combination of cards which lay out next to each other, like the Bayern tapestry. And in this tapestry, and you get the cards in all different parts of the island. Um, in this tapestry, it tells us the story about the what happened in space with the crab people and the snake aliens and the war in the heavens, and how um, they came, and the island is actually a weapon which is used to win that war in the heavens, and that's what the totems are all about. And when I saw that and alongside the very first dungeon where you go in and eventually you pull out and you see that the key to the door that you have to get out of, like you have your three symbols, and the symbol is actually in the like it is the temple. Those two moments for me, they blew my mind. They blew my mind. Now, since the Seventh Continent, a lot of games have come along, and I have one to talk about. Destinies is very, very similar. I talked about Taint Grail last week, which is also very similar. But for me, the Seventh Continent has a special place in my heart, was because it was the first, and I hadn't seen, like, it came with a magnifying glass, and so I was looking at every single tile to find little tiny numbers which would allow me to progress along the game or figure something else out or do something new. I mean, there are parts of that game that, I won't lie, when I finished it, I went through all the cards, right? So I finished it as best as I could, and then I went through all of the cards. And I'm not sad about doing that, because I will never play it again. I don't want to play it again. I had such an amazing experience that it's done. Like, that chapter is done. But as I was going through the cards, there was so much that I had missed somehow. And I was looking at these cards like, how did they fit this much content into this game? And it's not like it takes forever to play. It probably takes about the same length as um like a 3D Final Fantasy, so like 40, 50 hours, I'd say. For me, like I say, I made it so that the map was as large as I wanted it to be. I think I also reduced any limitations on how much food I could hold. So if I went to go fish, I could just kill as much as I wanted to kill, and then have all of that fish, and not have food be a constant source of pressure and angst. Because what I really wanted to do was explore and adventure and discover this island, this continent. It's an island. They call it some continent. It's an island, and it was just such a fantastic experience. I know that since, and I'm looking at, like I say, I have all of the curses, and I've played through the entire game. I've got what goes up must come down. That was the Kickstarter when I bought into the game, and when I bought into that, I got all of the curses, the other curses that came with it. There's a good number of curses actually, and I've been through them all. There's a couple of things that I don't think are really necessary. You don't need to get the figures for the plants or the figures for the sandworms. You don't really need them, to be frank. The cardboard standees are nice. If you are a miniature painter, know that the minis are very, very, very small. I painted them, and I'm actually really proud of them. They're on my Instagram. That's private, so you can't see it. But uh, the minis are very, very, very small. Okay, so you might find that you just like the you just want to use the cardboard standees a la Gloomhaven or whatever, which is totally fine. But as I was saying, the Seventh Continent now is ranked 125. Thematic 34. I think when I played it all those years ago now, because I kickstarted it, so it came out in 2020. I didn't play until 2021, but I kickstarted it back before that. I know, so it came out in 2019, so I must have kickstarted it before that even, maybe like 2018. Since then, a lot of other games have come out and have kind of refined what they did with Seventh Continent. But for me, I'm looking at my rating right now, it says 10. For me, this was one of the greatest board gaming experiences that I personally have ever had. It was solo. Um, you could play this two player, for sure. I would probably only want to play it solo, but it might be fun playing with other people. But for me, playing the solo by myself during COVID, it it was a very, I mean, that's just a very poignant memory for me now. Um, and Seventh Continent, as a result, has a very special place in my heart and in my memories. It's just a good fucking game as well. Don't let people. All right, right. Don't let people. Okay, now I'm gonna get on my podium a little bit. Adventure games have red herrings, right? If you have the opportunity to go anywhere on a world, then you have the opportunity to go in the wrong direction. Get fucking over it. This is how all games are since Final Fantasy 3, right? Since old school JRPGs. This game is no different. If you've gone the wrong direction, it's because you fucked up. You missed something. You didn't do something. You didn't really explore the clues and identify what you needed to do. And even if you do go down the wrong way, and you've spent a couple hours and you realize you have to go back, well, that's part of the adventure. That's part of the exploration. It annoys me how much some board game reviewers want games food fed to them, food fed to them, right? How easy they want it to be. It really frustrates me, especially when it comes to Seventh Continent, because certain reviewers were really disparaging about the game, and it's like, well, if you don't like that aspect, just fucking change it. It's your game. You can do what you want. I always say this with board games, including our games. For Moonstar board games, if you don't like some of our rules, change it. It's your rules. It's your game now. You can do whatever you want with it to have the best time possible. But even if you play Seventh Continent by the rules, which I did for a long time at the start, and then I was like, I'm not going out of this room for the next, I don't know whenever I'm going to get out of here, so I'm going to just have the whole map out. Even then, that's just part of the adventure. Like, that was just part of the adventure, going through the survival aspects, going through, the tension and angst. That was part of the initial journey for me in the Seventh Continent. Now, I grew out of it, but it doesn't mean that the game is necessarily inherently bad. It just means that I streamlined the game or directed the game into giving me what I wanted and what I needed from it the most, which was escapism and adventure and the thrill of finding something out and figuring out a puzzle and solving things. That's what I wanted, and I got that from the seventh continent. That was my little rant. Now I've talked for too long. But that really frustrated me at the time. Ugh, fucking some champagne socialist YouTube. Oh, maybe I should stop. Forget this is the company account. Maybe I should stop. But Seventh Continent is an amazing experience. It really is, and it's not going to hold your hand. But as a result, the payoff that it will give you really might be an almost life-defining and life-changing moment. For me, it was one of the reasons why I got into making board games. It's what made me is, I mean, I've been playing board games since 2012, but playing long, large, 40 plus hour adventure solo board games wasn't really my jam until the Seventh Continent. I played a lot of Mage Knight, but that's nowhere near comparable. Now I have Tainted Grail. I'm going to be talking about it, Ether Fields very soon. I have Sleeping Gods, Waste Knights 2.0, Seventh Citadel. Uh, I have ISS Vanguard. I have so many of these great games. I had Gloomhaven and got rid of Gloomhaven because all these games are just so much better and so good that um, I have to attribute that to the Seventh Continent. So, if you can get a copy of the Seventh Continent, I don't know what its printing is like. Uh, no, you can get it easy peasy on Board Game Geek. You can get it, no problem. You can easily get it, and you probably get it on Serious Pulp's website too. These mad Frenchmen, I think they're French. I don't have the box. It's Serial Pulp who are the producers of the game. I do not remember the name of the developers, and now my computer is going a little bit haywire. So, seventh Seventh Citadel is the new version of the game, but I would encourage you to try Seventh Continent first and give it a bash. And for the price, you are going to have a literal adventure. And I hope to hear in the comments about that adventure if you do take me on my word with this, which I hope you do. Anyway, this has been Simon Adams from Moonstar Board Games.